What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to John Street Hockey. I am the mayor of John Street, Sean Campbell, joined by my buddy, my best friend, a man who 2 nights ago, despite being so very tired, put on a post-game show with me, and that man is Kevin Curly McHugh. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm glad to have done that, considering it was also my idea, and then I laid down and fell asleep during the third period and was like having major second thoughts. But I'm glad you
And
talked me
so
back
you
into that.
know, you laying down was also you laying down on me and this podcast.
Well, that's why I got my ass up and I got on.
Hey, big time
I couldn't
players
let
show up in big time games, right? Danny Briere, fucking Michael Jordan, Kevin McHugh.
I couldn't let you down, like especially considering I was the one that texted you and was like, "Yeah, we should do a post game tonight," even though the game didn't get over till midnight.
Yeah, right. And we both had work the next day. But we did it for the people. Speaking of the people, I'd like to thank everybody for watching live along right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find all of our podcasts on YouTube as if you want to catch the video versions as well as your social media platforms. Just go to youtube.com, search John Street Hockey, and subscribe to the John Street Hockey YouTube channel. And if you're not already, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at John Street Hockey, John ST Hockey, and go ahead and smash that like button on Facebook.com/John Street Hockey. By the way, guys, John Street Hockey is being presented to you live here tonight by Hubba Hubba Hoagies, Norse Beards, Pike's Pub, and the Chamonix Creek Brewing Company. So make sure you go ahead and check out all of those wonderful businesses. They're the reason why we're able to bring you guys all this great hockey content. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to preview what we have coming up here the next week. Then we're going to touch a little bit on what we think is going on with the team, good, bad, and indifferent. So let's start it off here. We're going to start off this week. Tomorrow night, we're playing the Devils, a team that somehow has a worse power play than the Flyers. Pretty middle of the run PK. Nobody on their team is even close to a point per game production, except for Jesper Bratt, who has 24 points through 26 games. We're both 10-win teams, both struggling. And might I add, PK Subban is playing rather pedestrian this year, and he's also slew-footing everybody under the sun. Kevin, what's your thoughts on New Jersey here?
My thoughts on the Devils is they have the ugliest third jersey in hockey. That's number one. Those black third jerseys with the white in them are just hideous.
Well, they have ugly first and second jerseys
Yeah.
too.
Well, their regular home jersey isn't too bad, but regardless, third jerseys are hideous, and this isn't necessarily a good team at all. They did beat the Flyers twice during the Flyers 10-game win streak. They're 10-11-5 for 26.
We had a
points.
10-game win streak.
Yeah, lose streak. Silly.
There
That is
you-
embarrassing.
Wishful thinking.
How could I ever think that the Flyers would go on a 10-game win streak?
Well, we have
I
done
have-
it in like almost every season since we were both like 12 years old, but still, we haven't done it yet this year.
Yeah, well, they beat the Flyers twice on the Flyers' 10-game lose streak. They have 26 points. They sit just above us in the standings in the Metro. They are 1 point ahead of us. So, yeah, they really need to come out hungry. This team has beat you twice already. They're not necessarily a good team by any means, and you do have the opportunity to jump them in the standings. So, like, if they don't come out with that spark in the first period, I'll be disappointed. But I've been disappointed before. I just think that for them, this game should be kind of a motivation game for the reason I just said. You know, that they're only 1 point ahead of you, and they've already beat you twice this year. So it should be a revenge game, and I expect them to come out with nothing less than at least a good start to the game and look like they have some real jump in the beginning.
Absolutely. One thing I'm looking for a second period like they had the other night against Arizona. That's something that we haven't seen from the team all that often in recent years. We've just historically been a middling second period team, and I saw some promising signs there against Arizona as far as second period production is concerned. So that's one thing I'm definitely looking for. And I also want to see them keep teams more to the outside and try to eliminate some of those top scoring chances. I mean, again, I'm going to reference the Arizona game again because it's fresh in everybody's mind. We gave up entirely too many quality scoring chances. Granted, Arizona is like a junior B team, so they weren't able to bury too many of them. But you can't do that against quality NHL teams.
Yeah, especially, and it seems like at least in the
Not
more
that
recent
Jersey,
starts.
sorry,
No, no, no,
just
you're
to
good.
interrupt. Not that Jersey's all that great either, but they're not Arizona. And you
No.
have to walk before you can run. So let's start taking our baby steps here and turning this fucking thing around.
Well, yeah, and they need to. And if they want people to get back on board with what, they're trying to convince us that they can do, which is go on a run here, like this is a game that you have to win. The upcoming schedule for this week is, it's as easy of a week as we're gonna have this year. So, in my mind, they should win all three if they want to get people back on board. I mean, we'll take 2 out of 3, I suppose, losing to the Devils because losing to Montreal or Ottawa at any point this week also won't be acceptable, and it'll be a sign of regression after beating Vegas and Arizona.
Absolutely. You got anything else on Jersey, or are you ready to move on to Montreal?
Uh, that's about it.
Any final thoughts?
Other than their ugly ass their jerseys and them, they also stink just like us. Uh, but it's a team I think we should still beat, especially with Carter Hart in net. So that's all I got to say about them.
Right. I do have one other thing on. I do have one other thing on the Devils. Jack Hughes, while he has been injured, has been less than pedestrian. He's been an AHL player to this point. And if I may, I think the entire sport of hockey should take notice. This is a kid that was drafted first overall just a few years ago. He was just given a huge contract well before the team had to. He played right out of junior. And I just feel like in today's NHL, we think that every first round pick should be NHL ready, when in reality, that's not how it is. You look at some of the legendary GMs over the course of the league history. Unfortunately, one of them being a New Jersey Devils GM, but Lou Lamoriello, he believed thoroughly that players need a stint in the minors to season themselves and get them used to playing pro hockey and again, teaching them how to walk before they run. And you just don't see that enough in the league anymore. And I think Jack Hughes is an example of that. Granted, he had a good year about 2 years ago, but I think we expect far too much out of our young prospects too soon. And that's not just the Flyers, it's league wide. So that's my little soapbox. You got anything on that?
Well, just saying something real quick on that is, we're not going to get into a whole Nolan Patrick thing, but just to briefly mention it, like that's someone who maybe could have, really done some good to have put him in the minors for some period of time instead of trying to just immediately rush him in his first year just to sell tickets because the team sucked. And you could,
Same
pitch
reason
to
they
the
signed
and you
JVR to
could,
that big ticket
yeah,
that we're still fucking paying for.
and you can pitch to the fans that hey, we have the second overall pick starting as our 2C. That didn't really work out. But the only other thing I'll say is that this game against the Devils, this is the Flyers' chance to go on their first 3-game win streak in 11 months.
We definitely need it. So with that being said, we mentioned in the last show, this is going to be a great week to, really get ourselves off the schneid and begin to build some confidence as a hockey team. We got Montreal coming up after the Devils. Montreal's coming in with a 6-20-3 record. They are definitely riding on the backseat of the struggle bus. Power play and penalty kill are both terrible. They fired their coach and GM as recently as a few weeks ago. And it's a team that, if I'm being completely honest, is in need of an alls-out, balls-out rebuild, even just 1 year removed from what some would say was an unlikely impromptu run to the Stanley Cup Finals last year.
Well, yeah, and I think they're pitching to their fans that they're rebuilding. Like, I think it's what they're doing is intentional. So I think it's not something that where they thought. I think they know that last year's run was kind of a one shot opportunity given the circumstances surrounding last year and only playing in that Canadian division. So I think they knew, especially with Weber, his age and the injuries he suffered during the run last year, and then Carey Price and the things he has going on right now, the issues that he's going through personally. I think they knew it was time to rebuild. I think they pitched it to the fans that way. I think they're fully committing, and for that reason, they are the second worst team in hockey, technically, only 3 points ahead of the Arizona Coyotes, who are in last place. But they're last in their division, like you said. They're 6-20-3 with only 15 points. Not getting great goaltending. Jake Allen, who we're probably going to see, is 5-14-2 with a 3.01 GAA and 9.06 save percentage. And just like the Devils game, this is a no excuse game.
I will say this: that Jake Allen trade from a couple of years ago, where they brought in Jake Allen from the St. Louis Blues, is looking increasingly better as far as the Canadians are concerned.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad goalie to have backing. Well, at the time, I thought he was going to be backing up Carey Price. That's why they brought him in. But we see how the whole Price situation turned out. So he's been, kind of thrust into the starting role there. The only other goalie they have is I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name, but he's got about a 4 goals against average. So it's a no excuse game. It's another game that you have to come out here and win,
Right.
especially if you lose to the Devils.
Real quick, while we're talking about Carey Price, do you think that's somebody that maybe you could see Montreal moving on from here at the deadline this year? Being that they are looking to rebuild, he's in the later part of his career here. And honestly, somebody that they could probably get some assets from as far as a contender is concerned. Maybe a team that's looking for an extra piece.
I just don't know who's going to trade for him because I just don't know enough about what he's personally got going on. Like for the reasons that he's away from the team and whatever personal issues he's got going on in his life.
I got a team that would trade for him immediately.
Let's hear it.
Edmonton.
Right, but when is he going to play? Like it sounds like an injury that he's recovering from. Like he's out, like he was in rehab.
No, I know that. I'm just, I think maybe a change of scenery might do him some good, and I think he could help a team like Edmonton that's a little bit short in the goaltending department. Reach the promised land. I think that's a team that would be willing to give up some assets to get a guy like Carey Price in to try and get Connor McDavid his first Stanley Cup.
Yeah, if they're really that desperate and looking for that, and it lines up and it's there.
I don't think you got to be desperate. I think you can get Carey Price for like one and a minor prospect.
I just don't see anybody trading for him. That's where I'm at. Maybe it could happen. It definitely could, but I just don't see it.
We'll see. Nobody saw anybody signing Michael Vick either, and you saw how that turned out in Philadelphia, right? Obviously, two completely separate situations, but that's where we're at.
Hey, Vic came in here and almost won an MVP.
Yes, he did. People forget.
He was the first overall pick in fantasy the year after that.
Oh, man. Showing your age a little bit there. I don't think I was playing fantasy football when Mike Vick was around.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, I was thinking about it. So what was that, like 10 years ago? Right? Something like that? Like 2011?
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
You were, what, 13? I was 19?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how, like, talking about our age difference in that time period seems like a lot, but like right now it's not.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But back to hockey. So yeah, I mean Montreal's a team that's definitely going through and taking their lumps. They're definitely expected to do a full on rebuild this year. One thing on that, real quick, I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot as they usually do, um, by requiring whoever they bring in to speak French. Like in today's day and age, where everybody has a translator in their pocket. It's your fucking cell phone,
Is that a
and
real
like if
thing?
oh yeah, whoever they hire as a GM has to speak French,
Well, you know,
and just
hockey's
by
like a
doing
big club. You know, like the people that get hired around the National Hockey League for GM positions and head coaching positions or president of team operations. It's all big club. It's all people that have been around. It's just like a big community where people are getting tossed around job to job. Everyone's just being recycled.
yeah, well,
So I guess it's not too hard to go out there
yeah.
and,
Well,
and
and I
get.
think they feel like they definitely have to do it because the guy they just hired as a team president, Jeff Gorton, does not speak French. So I feel like they need like that French speaking figurehead. A lot of people are rumoring that maybe Gorton's going to be the guy actually pulling the strings, and the GM's going to be more of like a mascot type. A couple of guys that have been floated out there as far as possible candidates for that general manager position. Philadelphia's own Danny Briere is a guy that's been mentioned. He's been running some minor league teams in the past couple of years. When the Flyers moved on from Ron Hextall, he's been quoted as saying that he wasn't quite ready to take on a National League GM position at that time. Our good friend Sam Carchidi, friend of the pod, wrote that. But I think now might be a good time for him. He's a guy that's been rumored. Some people are throwing Patrick Waugh out there. I think that is highly unlikely considering the way that things ended for him. But just something to think about as far as the situation that Montreal's in. And one other note I had, superstar first round pick from last year, Cole Caulfield, is absolutely struggling thus far. He's got 6 points through 20 games, and only one of those points is the result of a goal thus far.
Yeah, I think he was sent down earlier in the year too during his struggles. Um,
He
what
wasn't
is his
sent
second
down
year in the
that
league?
long, though. I mean, he's played 26 games still, or 20 games or something like that. 20
I just
games.
remember it was like really early in the year,
Yeah.
like maybe within the first like week or two, he was sent down, and then
Right,
they
and
brought
and
him
it
back
hasn't
up.
done
But
anything for him. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's not like there's a great
well,
team around him either. But
right, he's a young player, really. In his second year on a shit team, he's bound to struggle.
right, but
Okay,
back to my point
look at
earlier about anointing these guys before they're ready.
uh the only players that I think deserve anointment are like, there's certain players that come out in the draft that are like the one that you just know are going to be dynamite, and then they come like the Connor McDavids, the Austin Matthews, Sidney Crosby's, the Alex Ovechkins. Like
Yeah, the
it's
problem
not
is
it's not too.
every team thinks they have that every year with the first overall pick, and they don't. They just don't.
No, well, I don't think that people know like when players are coming out like first overall, like no one's comparing them to Connor McDavid. Like you don't hear often
No, I'm
people
not
say, "Oh,
saying
this
that they
guy,
think they
this
have
guy."
Connor McDavid every year, but every year they think that they have this first overall pick that's going to come in and be NHL ready at fucking 17, 18 years old. Something
Oh,
that very few guys are ready to do.
right, yeah. I don't think it's a guarantee at all that a first overall pick, second overall pick, or even a first round pick, anywhere in the first round, is or is supposed to be immediately ready. Their rookie year coming into the season, like for the most part, they need that time in the A. You're
Right.
definitely
Like
not wrong about that.
guys like Sean Couturier aren't, like I would say Couturier is a guy that was for the most part NHL ready coming in. He started playing at a very young age. I think he was 18 years old when he started on the Flyers.
Yeah.
Um, Never been sent down. He's a guy that is a high end top talent in the league when he's playing at his best.
Well, he was a little bit
But
of a
that's my
bigger
problem.
guy,
Everybody
right?
thinks that they have that guy.
Well, he was a little bit. Coots was a little bit of a bigger guy whose game really just translated very well to the NHL game. He
Especially in the
coming,
role that they
yeah.
expected from him early on in his career.
At that point, I believe he was playing probably 3C for us. like really
Correct.
down the lineup in our bottom six. And you've seen his defensive prowess immediately his rookie season
Shutting
when
down
he,
guys like
yeah,
Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, shutting down that line in Pittsburgh in the playoffs very early in his young career.
yeah, which really gave him his name and his expectation moving forward from there on. Um, but yeah, I guess back to the Canadians. I didn't have really anything else on the Canadians. I don't know if you did.
No, I mean it's a dog shit franchise, and they're in the midst of a rebuild. And if you don't get a win there, I think something's definitely wrong. Um, Not that there isn't anything wrong, but it's it gets a whole lot worse when you lose to a team like Montreal. Um,
Is
so
it
then,
weird that, like, is it false hope, or that I expect them to win? Like, I expect them to beat the
no, you
Devils
should
tomorrow.
absolutely expect them to win, just like I expected them to win against Arizona.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Like
Like
they
the
are
Flyers have
bad, but
been
they're not that bad.
struggling,
I'm not
right?
gonna.
The Flyers have been struggling, but they don't have like a bottom five roster in the league. Like for all
No,
intents
I
and
don't.
purposes, we have like a pretty quality roster as far as the league's concerned, and the way that parity runs throughout the NHL nowadays. Um, but I guess we'll move on to Ottawa here. We're going to be playing Ottawa. They are 8-16-1. Another team worse than the Flyers thus far. Obviously, their team leader, Brady Tkachuk. Let's see. He's got 9 points. What the hell?
I
Oh, in
believe he
his
has
last
nine
five
points in his
games.
last 5 games.
Yeah, 9 points in his last 5 games. 6 goals in his last 5 games. So he's pretty hot coming in here. Yeah, I mean, Brady Kachuk's a guy that you're definitely going to have to shut down. He's leader of that club, and it all starts with him. He's really he's really what stirs the drink up there in Ottawa.
Well, he's a stud. The both Kachuk brothers are just studs. It runs in the family, so it's no shocker there. He's already the captain of that team. They're a total dumpster fire, been a total dumpster fire for a while now, and they're not much better than the Canadians. They sit just above the Canadians in the
Right.
Atlantic.
So, real quick, while we're talking about the Ottawa Senators and how terrible they are, can we put a stop now to the rumors that that's where Giroux's going to waive his no trade clause to go? He's a guy that's in the latter half of his career who's still playing some relatively good hockey. Why the fuck would he want to go to a 9-win hockey team? Why would he want to go to a team that's one spot above last place in their division?
It's never made sense to me, those rumors. I mean, they say that he wants to play in his hometown, but give me a break. Like, you don't want to go to a 9-win hockey team. If you're frustrated, with the losing that we're doing now, like, it's not going to get any better over there. And like you said, being in the latter stages of his career, he wants to win. And you don't go there if you want to win,
Right. And I
obviously.
people make a big deal out of guys wanting to play at home and in front of their friends and family all the time, but if we're being completely honest here, the only family that I don't want to say the only family that matters, but the most important family that Giroux has is here in Philadelphia, his wife and his child. Like that's what's important to him right now, and they have roots in Philadelphia. I don't see him waiving his no trade clause to uproot his wife and his child to go to Ottawa, to play in front of his high school buddies and his third and fourth cousins that are going to be pestering him for tickets every night.
I don't think. Listen, I don't think it's a. It's a. I don't think he wants to. Like, I don't think he wants to leave here to go there. But if things don't go well over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we're sellers at the deadline, and we want to move him, and he has to waive his no trade clause, I
No,
don't
I
even
get
see
that. I
him
just
wanting to
don't
go
think
there as an
Ottawa's the
option.
team. Yeah.
No, I don't. Even if, like, we were like, hey, we really want to trade you, please waive your no trade clause, and he was like, okay, and they were like, all right, where do you want to go? I don't think he would say Ottawa.
No, not at all. And like
And
I
I'm sure,
alluded
and
to,
I'm sure, and I'm sure there'd be plenty of teams who are contending for a cup that would want him.
oh, for
Absolutely.
sure, for sure. At this stage in his career, I think he'd be a great second or third line winger for a team that's looking to make a run.
no doubt. He'd be a dude if you had him on your third line and you had like a ridiculously solid two lines, like it's such a steal. You're so deep.
Honestly, I think he would fit in great with a team like Minnesota.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good fit.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that'd be
not that I'm trying to sell off our captain, but
no, 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 no. It
just like
disgusts me. It
if I
just
had to trade him somewhere and I wanted to see him succeed and do well, like Minnesota's a pretty sneaky team. They don't have a whole lot of holes, and I think he would bring a leadership quality and some experience to a team that doesn't have a whole lot of that. They're a fairly young roster, and coming into the season here, they bought out their two veteran leaders, so maybe a little veteran leadership to get the boys in the right mindset before the playoff push. But again, that's way down the road. We don't know if that's going to happen or not.
was. Don't get me wrong. It disgusts me to speak about Claude Giroux going somewhere else, but it's just the matter of the situation and the nature
Well, and when you
of
consider
sports.
the way that we've wasted his prime and have never put a team around him that was capable of doing anything other than going to the second round,
The
like
best chance we had was the first year where he was the man on the team after we traded Richards and Carter and we beat the Penguins in the first round. That was really the only year I can think of that team was even close to being competitive enough. And the thing with that team was Briskalov was a wash, and the defense without Pronger, because he went out earlier, in that year with the concussion that would eventually end his career. Without him, that defense was a wash, and our goaltending was a wash because Bob wasn't what he is
wasn't
now.
what he became. Yeah,
No,
he was still young in his career, and that was a move. While we're here, while we're talking about that era of Flyers hockey, um, what are your thoughts on Paul Holmgren from back then? Just while we're here,
my thoughts are
because I feel he's largely to blame for the fact that we were never able to put a team around Claude.
um, yeah, you could say that for sure. You could say that because he traded Richards and Carter, right? He was the one that did that,
Well,
and
so
then
I was
not.
talking to somebody about this at work today, and thinking back, and obviously, revisionist history and hindsight's 2020, always undefeated. Um, Looking back, I'd be okay with trading Richards back then, but I feel like moving on from Carter, a guy who really became that a quality goal scorer and somebody that really helped push LA to two Stanley Cups. I feel like losing a guy like that really hurt this club for a long time because we still have yet to bring in a guy that can score goals like that.
Yeah, I was more of a Richards guy than a Carter guy. But my overall feeling towards Holmgren are a little different than yours. Again, this is during a time period where I think our age at that time was more significant. So like my memories and like my main thing towards Holmgren was he was the one who took the Flyers from dead last place to next year we're in an Eastern Conference final, and 2 years later, like we're in the Cup. Like he put that team together. He brought in Scott Hartnell and Kimo Timonen and Danny Briere and Chris Pronger. Like he built that, and we were there. We had our shot. It didn't go our way, unfortunately. But for me, that's what I like remember the most.
No, and that's fair. Again, I just think we've done a horrible job of putting a team together that can do
Well, I
anything
think,
other than
well,
go to the second round.
I think Ron Hextall was awful. I think we're seeing it with his draft picks.
Hopefully,
You
he
know,
comes to
Ivan,
Pittsburgh.
Ivan
Here's
Provorov
what's
was the
crazy though, because Hexy had some success out in L.A. as the assistant general manager.
right. I had optimism with him coming in here because of his resume in L.A.
Right. Um. So we've pretty much talked about all the games for this week, and since we've already kind of gone there anyway, let's just
We're
talk it out.
hold on one thing. Just in case you weren't sure who the Senators goaltender is that we'll probably see,
Matt Murray.
his name is Anton Forsberg. Matt Murray is the backup. Anton Forsberg. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before. 5-4 with a 334 goals against and just above
I feel
900
like
save
I have
percentage.
heard of him before. I'm trying to think of what team he was with because I do remember him being with somebody else as a backup. Um, but while we're already on the subject, we're talking about what's wrong with the Flyers.
Yikes.
And granted, it's kind of hard to have a conversation off of 2 wins here, but overall, this season has been a vast disappointment, and there's definitely some issues with the club. And I think it's time we bring some of them to the table. We fill in our listeners, let them know what we think the problems are, how we feel they should be addressed moving forward. Um, for starters, power play, while it has improved since Michel Therrien and AV have left, um, still middling, still not as successful as you would think a power play with the guys that we have on our roster could be. We still lack the guy that's willing to take the shot on the power play. I'd like to start there with the power play. What's your thoughts?
So right now they're sitting, like you said, they're middling. Right now they're sitting
I think
24th.
21st,
They're
24th.
right now they're 24th at 16.7. I think, like, I look at the roster, like you were saying a little earlier. Like, you look at our roster, and by the parity in the league, like, we have a pretty decent NHL roster. So I look at the roster and I look at the unit that they run out there for the power play, and I go, okay, we should be able to score. Especially if everybody's playing up to what their career averages are. We should be doing better this, and we should be scoring. So I think we can improve from where we're at now. I think we could get into the top 20, maybe 18th, which is where we were last year. I know the beginning of the year, I predicted, potentially top 12. But with the horrific skid that they went on, going like 1 for 45, I don't see that happening. I don't see them jumping up that far unless they just go on an absolute tear with it. I don't see it though. But I think they can improve to around 18th, crack the top 20, somewhere around there. And again, if they're just gonna like generally play harder now that they have a coach that they like, uh, I can see it being more successful, especially if JVR gets hot. He scored 1 goal, bang, he comes back with 2 more goals. One thing that I will say that I think is an improvement that we've been seeing that could be something that could be lasting is they were doing a better job of getting bodies to the front of the net instead of just giving the goalie like just a wide open clear view lane of where the puck's coming from. So if they're going to continue to get bodies in front of the net and move the puck well, I like seeing Coots take a one-timer. He plays that other half wall opposite Giroux, but you don't really see him shoot that often from there. So if they keep shooting the puck, getting bodies to the net, I think good things will happen.
You mentioned getting bodies out in front, and I think that's really going to be key. You definitely got to get guys who are puck hungry out in front. Speaking of hungry, if you're hungry, stop what you're doing right now. If you need a delicious hoagie, go to Hubba Hubba Hoagies on Woodburn Road in Langhorne. The best hoagies, the best sandwiches, the best cheesesteaks, and the best burgers at Hubba Hubba Hoagies. The only hoagies that make you say, Hubba Hubba.
That's a great
Back to the power
segue
play.
into the ad.
Absolutely. We call that
A segue.
no, I'm trying to think of what the hell you call the ad reads when they're not scripted. God, you'd think I'd be a professional by now. Fuck.
Think on it.
That's going to bother me. All right, back to the power play. Back to the hockey. That's what the people come here for. So, yes, the power play, I agree. We definitely got to get guys out in front of the net, puck-hungry guys, ready to deflect passes, screen goalies. And you mentioned as well, you have to shoot the puck. We need a guy that's willing to take the shot. And we need to give a different look. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Our power play has looked the same no matter who's been behind the bench for 10 years. It's an umbrella with Giroux on the half wall taking a clapper.
Well, when it was really successful in the earlier 2010 era, a couple things. Drew just genuinely had a better shot. It seems like, and we had Scott Hartnell and Braden Shen playing the bumper spot, and they were fairly decent at that spot. TK doesn't really
Wayne
seem like he
Simmons.
can. Wayne Simmons in front of the net, yeah. So we had players that I just think were better power play players, along with G just being a better player at the time. So I think that kind of plays into it. And one thing that I feel like the power play really lacks when it's not going well is quick decision making with the puck. Are you going to G? You're going to Coots? Are you going to shoot? What are you doing? And players who don't have the puck just moving their feet. Like it's not too often you'll see, like on really good power plays, you'll see the guys on each half wall during the same, play going around without a stoppage. They'll end up rotating and end up on opposite sides. You're not going to see that with the Flyers unless there's a face-off and the set play calls for G to be on that side and Coots on the opposite side again. So you're not seeing a lot of rotation. Recently we've seen G or Coots move from their half wall spot down to around the net at least to meet the other guy halfway for certain plays.
Right. I definitely would like to see a little bit more behind the net action on the power play as well.
Yeah, really early in the season when the power play was, they were scoring some goals. They were looking good. They weren't scoring the most, but they were scoring some goals. I felt like they were running a lot of behind the net plays, and then they really just kind of got away from it.
Right. You did mention there, guys with the puck need to be more decisive, quick decisions, right? Bang, bang, bang. It's a bang, bang league. And on the power play, you get 2 short minutes. 2 minutes is 2 shifts. That's what the power play is. It's 2 shifts. You have 2 shifts to make something happen. You got to think quickly. You got to be decisive with the puck. And again, the off-puck movement. Move around. Confuse the defense. If they're standing there in a 4-man box and you're standing there in the umbrella, it's a lot easier for them to react out of the 4-man box when you're not moving. Oh, okay, here's my guy. I just have to stay in this general area and he won't have a quality scoring chance. Like, move around a little bit. Find the open ice. I go back to the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, the Miracle movie. What was said about the Soviets? They find open ice and they take advantage of it and they capitalize on the quality scoring chances. That's something that the Flyers need to do. Move around. Find those empty spaces, that open space on the ice, and use it to your advantage. Make the goalie miss. Make the defenseman miss and get a quality scoring chance.
Yeah, like when you see teams who are on the penalty kill against us and you see them being extremely aggressive and pressuring us, it's because they have no respect for our ability to make quick decisions under pressure, which leads back to the quick puck movement. When you're watching these elite power plays, they are whipping the puck around. Like, no player has that puck on his stick for more than 2 seconds.
Right. And it's funny because you think about people that say that they don't watch hockey, right? What's one of the most common reasons why people say they can't watch hockey? I can't follow the puck. Well, I'll tell you what. If you want a team that you can follow the puck, watch the Flyers. Because somebody's going to hold the puck for 3-4 seconds before they move it.
And you're going to know exactly where it's going.
Right. No need for the puck shadow with the Flyers. You don't need that. It's just, and another thing, the guys mishandling the puck at the blue line. If you're going to hold the puck for 4 seconds before you make a decision, you cannot bobble the puck out of the zone. You cannot. Especially when you struggle to gain zone entry and maintain puck possession in the offensive zone. And that's power play and 5-on-5.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of Provorov's real weaknesses, especially on the power play. It's very evident on the power play. He doesn't really handle the puck cleanly when you pass it to him at the point. He does fumble it a lot, and no one takes longer to make a decision on what they're going to do with the puck than Ivan Provorov on the power play.
You know who's been disappointing on the blue line on the power play as well?
Who's that?
Keith Yandel.
Yeah, he started off hot. He had like 5 assists in his first 5 games.
Now, he did look better against Arizona. I will say that. Granted, you have to take a little bit of that with a grain of salt. That was the team that drafted him, and they moved on from him. So there's, I mean, obviously that was quite some years ago, but you always kind of have a little bit of more fire in your blood against a former team. But he's a guy that you brought in to quarterback that second unit. He's a power play guy. He's a puck mover. He's not a sometimes I block shots, sometimes I pass the puck. No, he's a power play guy. That's what he does.
Yeah, and I thought
And
when
he
they were
hasn't
playing
been
him,
doing it.
yeah, and I thought when they were, I thought they gave him too much time on the second unit. Even though he was struggling, Ivan Provorov is not very good in the power play, and they've tried Sanheim there. He hasn't worked out. So I felt like I'd rather him just play through his struggles on the first unit. He has looked good recently, which is good. And one thing I think we're missing, I think Ryan Ellis is a really good power play
Yes, he
quarterback
is.
up there at the point.
Well, and I
So,
think that was the plan, was to have him quarterback the first unit and have Yandel quarterback the second unit.
well, they started out with Yandel quarterbacking the first unit, and it was going well. So they kept things the way they were. But if we had Ryan Ellis during that, this struggling time period, there's no doubt Ellis would have been promoted up to the first unit. And I think he's damn good on the power play. He's really good at getting the puck through and the quick decision making that we mentioned. So we've been missing him in more ways than one. It's not just his defense and being able to move the puck up ice quickly. We've been missing him on the power play because in the past with Nashville, he was a above average power play producer.
For sure. And I don't want to say that, one player can make or break a team. But
Unless it,
you definitely see the impact, and you see where we're lacking with Ellis out of the lineup. You bring a guy like that in, expecting him to play big minutes for you,
well,
and
it's not.
he hasn't been there to do it thus far. And granted, it's injury. I get it. But he hasn't been there to do what you've brought him in to do. And that's led to a revolving door of guys on the third pairing, guys like Nick Sealer and who's the guy they just brought up?
Connaughton.
Right. Sealer and Connaughton. Like, are they really NHL guys? No. They're guys that can fill in for a game or two at the NHL level.
Well, you're getting with Ryan Ellis, you're getting multiple benefits. Obviously, he's just good in his own right, and getting the puck out, moving it quickly, being good under pressure on the like when he's being forechecked. But he makes Ivan Provorov better. He makes because Provorov is probably maybe a 1B. He may be just a second pair defenseman, but playing with a guy like Ellis, he's more than capable of playing on the first pair. So you're getting a better Ivan Provorov along with just a better defenseman on your first pairing in Ryan Ellis. So
Correct. I don't think either one of them are a 1A defenseman, but I'll take having two 1Bs over a 1A and a 2A any day.
but well, without question. And speaking on Ryan Ellis, I don't know what else you wanted to get into, but the Flyers do have some pretty good news. They have reinforcements coming. Joel Farabee was skating today by himself for the first time, so that's pretty good news. If the team's going to get hot, like JVR is going to be scoring goals, adding Farabee back into the mix can be nothing but good news. Wade Allison has played 2 games for the Phantoms so far, has looked really well, has 10 shots on net through 2 games, 1 assist, and he scored in the shootout. And he's doing the classic Hartnell down stuff. Like he's playing classic Wade Allison hockey, which is kind of fly by the seat of your pants and hit anything that move. So I think that shows you that he's pretty healthy, which is a good sign. We should be seeing him back up here pretty soon.
I am fucking excited to hear that.
And he's a guy that really whips the puck. Like he loves to shoot. So I think he could, you know, there's no one
For
there's
sure.
no one on the power play that's killing it. So he could take someone's spot there and he could produce.
I think he has an opportunity here to really bring some new breathe some new life into the team.
Yes.
You saw him kind of come in a similar role last year. The team was down and out, and not that he turned their entire season around, but it started to look better with Wade Allison in the lineup last year, and I think he has an opportunity to do the same thing again this year.
He brings a lot of energy, especially the way that he plays and his attitude. He plays the way
Absolutely.
that he plays the way that we wish TK would play all the time. But
Um,
he might do it better.
so real quick, I want to go back to Keith Yandel for a second. I have one thought. Um, some people who are friends of his or huge fans of his may disagree with me on this one. But he's a guy that I think, had he not had an active Iron Man streak earlier this season, warranted several benchings.
That's a good argument to make.
And I feel that when you have a guy like that on your roster, it presents the coach with a very difficult decision to make. You know, you only have 6 guys that play that position. So it's not like you can short shift him. He's got to lug his fair share of ice. And when you're not playing up to snuff, you should be benched. But there's an inherent pressure there not to bench him because of the Iron Man streak and because he's so close to breaking the record.
Under certain circumstances, I would agree with you that he probably should be benched. But looking at the depth chart and the injuries that we already have, Sam Marin's still hurt. We haven't
I'm
had
not
Ryan
saying to
Ellis.
bench him and never play him again, but he's a guy
No,
that,
yeah, I know, I
you know,
know.
at a certain point, you probably could have sat him down and said, hey, you need to take a game off, watch from the press box, and reevaluate what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that the Iron Man streak plays into that.
Oh, for sure. And I can almost guarantee you that it, like the thought definitely crossed AV's mind, like, oh, I should probably bench this guy. And then he's like, wait, I can't do it because then the entire fucking world in hockey is going to look at me like I'm a jackass.
Well, also AV is a guy that if he's gonna bench someone and take something out on someone, it's gonna be a younger player. He's not really known that like he's known to call out some older players, but when it comes to benching, he's a guy that would really usually just is more likely to bench a younger player than an older guy.
Absolutely. So we spent a lot of time on the power play. Um, it's a pretty long power play segment, actually. But that's honestly the big thing that's wrong with the team right now. So I think it definitely warrants a longer segment.
Right.
Um,
Especially when, you don't have the most prolific scores. You need to really rely on your power play to, get your goals per game up.
Absolutely. You have to take advantage of the chances that are given to you. And power plays, while they may seem routine, are huge chances to swing momentum in games. And you have to take advantage. With that being said, we'll go over kind of the rest of the team a little bit. I don't have a whole lot on the penalty kill. The penalty kill has looked pretty good so far this year, all things considered. And I think that's a big reason why Mike Yeo is the interim coach right now. That was the one unit really this year that kind of held its own a little bit. I mean, Terrian's power play struggled like no other. The 5-on-5 play didn't look that great, but for some reason, the penalty kill, while they did give up their goals, like they always seem to have a big kill at least every game.
Well, listen, it was the one part of the Flyers game that wasn't complete shit, right? So it kind of stood out as being pretty decent. They're
Right.
saying
Well, and it
19th right
also
now.
stands out because the penalty kill has really struggled over the last 5 years.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like last year, their penalty kill was worse than their power play, and I think a huge part of it is the goaltending that they've got, especially from Carter Hart. And then you bring in guys like Atkinson, who is a really good penalty killer. Scott Lawton, great penalty killer. Obviously, Coots. So we have a lot of good penalty killers, and we've been getting good goaltending. I think the power play did, drop in the rankings a little bit during the 10-game lose streak. But obviously, that's going to happen when you're just playing like
Right.
shit and getting your shit pushed in every night.
Right. It's not like these guys are going to be like, oh, well, we suck on 5-on-5, but hey, we can win the game on penalty kill. Like, no, you can't win the game on penalty kill.
No. So
So I don't think anybody's getting up like, oh, we got to kill this penalty. Like, dude, we've lost 10 fucking games. Like, we're not, you know what I mean?
right,
Um,
it was the one thing during the losing streak that didn't look like absolute dog shit. And if they can turn it around and play better and string together some wins, I think the penalty kill is only going to get better as well, naturally, from that.
Absolutely. So I don't have a whole lot more on the penalty kill, so let's go ahead and transition it over. Um, Team defense as a whole. It was a big struggle last year. The guys in front of Carter Hart really hung him out to dry last year. And you're starting to see some elements of that again this year. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as it was last year, but it's still pretty bad. You're still giving up entirely too many quality chances to some of these teams. And I'll go back to Arizona again. Same point I made earlier. We gave up entirely too many quality scoring chances to what equates to a junior B hockey team. Like Carter Hart should not have to make some of those saves that he made against Arizona.
I think Martin Jones was in that for Arizona, but
Oh, that's
regardless,
right. That's right. I'm sorry. I forgot it was a Martin Jones line.
regardless, even one of the, I think their
Too many
third goal.
whiskeys.
I think their third goal. I just chalked their third goal up to
Cheers.
a really nice shot. I think they did give up too many quality chances, but even bad hockey teams are going to get their chances. My issue is none of our defensemen seem to be particularly good at turning their back and going and getting the puck that's been dumped. They're not very good against the forecheck when the team's forwards really pressure them. They cough up the puck a lot, which results in them not being able to get out of
Defensive
their
zone
zone.
turnovers.
Yeah, which results in them not being able to get out of their zone cleanly. And when a team is cycling on them, they don't really pressure them as much as they did last year. They kind of tend to sit back a lot, which is why they've given up, so much. Which is why they haven't really had the puck in the offensive zone a lot. Their possession numbers aren't very good, and it comes down to a lot of the defensive zone and not being able to get the puck out and handle the other team's forecheck.
I agree with everything you said right there. You have to be able to make crisp exit passes, get the puck up to the forwards with a guy that has some space to move around, establish possession in the offensive zone. That's winning hockey. And when you can't even get out of your own zone, you're not going to win a whole lot of hockey games.
And then to make matters even worse, you can't stop the forecheck from the other team, and then you yourself can't even effectively get in on the forecheck. So
Right.
then,
And
you're just getting smashed in the possession game.
right. And then you lost the puck, so now you're out of position, and now your goalie's hung out to dry.
Well, luckily Carter Hart has been good. Otherwise, we'd be in even more of a worse spot than we are now.
Correct. And you bring up Carter Hart there, so what better time to transition to team goaltending? Carter Hart has definitely improved, especially off of last year. Very down year for Hartsey last year, but he's back. He's playing well. Obviously, when the team in front of you is playing the way that the Flyers have been of late, it's a lot harder for you to stand out, but he still finds ways to stand out every night. Every night he makes a 10-bell save. And, I kind of look at Carter Hart and, when he's playing his best hockey, yeah, he's going to get you shutouts. He's going to get you, 1-goal games and stuff like that. But my overall view of Carter Hart, I kind of look at him in the same light as a guy like Grant Fuhr. Now, that's high praise. That's a Hall of Fame goaltender. That's a guy that's won multiple Stanley Cups. But Grant Fuhr was always a guy that said, hey, I don't care how many goals we give up. I'm going to keep us in it. I don't care if we got to win the game 8-7. I'm going to keep us in it. I will make the one big save that I have to for us to win this game. And I feel like Carter Hart has a lot of that in him. Like, the kid's a fucking gamer.
Well, I thought he really showed that in the bubble against the Islanders, especially I think Game 6 where we ended up winning in double overtime. He made a
Yes.
couple 2-on-1
We watched
and even
that game
breakaway
together.
saves. Yes, he made a bunch of 2-on-1 and breakaway saves in that game to keep it alive in overtime. So he's shown that he has that capability. And right now he's making hard saves look routine, and he's also making the spectacular save. In the game against Vegas when we were up 4-3, there was like a shot to the net. It was blocked. It was kind of like somewhere, kind of below the circle, and someone gave a quick pass over to the back door, and Carter Hart read it and just stuck the pad out with about a minute left. and really saved the game for us. Had over 40 saves that night, and if it wasn't for him, we probably potentially be a bottom three team in the league.
100%. There's far too many nights that we waste great goaltending from Carter Hart and
Because
even Martin Jones. Martin Jones has been no slouch this year. And I'll say it again, and I'll continue to remind everybody. I was on the Martin Jones train coming into the season. Everybody else was worried, and he was terrible last year, and X, Y, and Z, and yeah, you know what, he might have been, but he was also on one of the worst teams in hockey in San Jose last year, and when you're playing on a team that's that bad that has nothing to play for, it's kind of hard for you to motivate yourself to get out there and win hockey games. And granted, we've had our struggles this year, but they've come in a cluster. It's really been that 10 games that we've been terrible. As a whole, the season, prior to that 10 game slide, we were playing some okay hockey. It's a lot easier to go into a game thinking you have a chance to win it and playing winning hockey. It's a lot harder to go into a game you have no shot at winning and give an effort that'll help your team win. So yeah, I was on the Martin Jones train before most people, and I am so fucking proud of that guy. He's been everything we could have asked for in a backup goaltender.
Yeah, I think. Listen, he came in and played absolutely amazing. His first few starts probably won us a couple games. He's cooled off a little bit. He's still been a tremendous backup and has given us quality starts. Obviously, he hasn't been as fantastic as we were kind of. Even you, for someone who was on his bandwagon, I don't think saw him posting the numbers he posted in his first 2-3 games here. Now, given the Flyers haven't
No,
played
not
the
at
best.
all.
Now, the Flyers haven't played their best in front of him recently. His goals against has climbed a little bit. He's at a 3.37 goals against average. He still does have over a 900 save percentage. But again, the Flyers have not been playing well for the last 10 games. Even Carter Hart's numbers took a little bit of a dip, which is going to happen when you go on a 10-game lose streak. But I'm fine with Martin Jones being my backup. Really, there weren't too many great options out there anyway. I think he is an upgrade over Brian Elliott. I think us as a team made Brian Elliott look better than he is in that game against Tampa last week. But I'm fine with him. I was questionable, but as a backup goalie with Carter Hart, coming back this year and showing that he can, hold down a number one job, I'm more than comfortable with Martin Jones.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to sum it up here. All right, I'll give it to you like a newspaper headline. For once, goaltending not an issue in Philadelphia.
Well, it's crazy. Well, it's pretty typical that we start getting goaltending and then we can't score more than a goal a game.
Yes. So that brings us to 5-on-5 offense, which has been horrendous. Go ahead and riff for a minute. I'm going to pull up some 5-on-5 stats from Hockey Reference.
What kind of stats? Like analytics?
5-on-5 stats, yeah.
Well, I think they've gotten better. Well, since firing AV, they've scored. I think 4 more goals in 2 of the 3 games. So that's a good sign. They're obviously playing a little harder for Yeo. The players seem to like Yeo. So, and they're playing bad teams coming up, like we went over with the Devils and Montreal and Ottawa. So they're teams that they should be able to get in on the forecheck with. They should be able to force a lot of turnovers in the neutral zone to get themselves in transition. I don't see any reason why the 5-on-5 offense, now that we're not playing Murderer's Row, why it can't, thrive and find its game. Which we never really thought that they would find their true form until probably around the break anyway. We just didn't think that them not on their best game would be what we saw.
Absolutely. So real quick, the Flyers 5-on-5. Holy shit, there's a lot of fucking stats.
Yeah, there is a lot of stats, isn't there?
Dude, it's crazy. I'm I am not the stat guy. Um,
I am but a simple man with simple pleasures.
yeah, so let's see here. Okay, 5-on-5. The Flyers have given up 42 goals. I'm sorry, no, that's 42 goals for and 56 goals against 5-on-5 this season. Absolutely terrible. So if you're looking for a percentage there, that equates to 42.86% goals for. Obviously, you want that above 50%. You want to get more goals than you give up. Let's see. I'm not a big expected goals guy, but I think when you look at how close our goals for and our expected goals are, that really kind of tells you the way that we've been playing 5-on-5. Our expected goals for are 48.14, which is absolutely terrible. I mean, you're expected 48 goals, you have 42. Um, so that tells me that as a team, you're not really getting a whole lot of high quality scoring chances and making the opposition's goalie stand on his head. And, it's not like you're getting goals stolen from you. You just can't finish a fucking play.
Well, you're not getting to the slot and you're not getting to the front of the net, is what that means. You're getting a lot of outside opportunities with nobody in front of the net. Otherwise, you might have a chance at a rebound, which would be a high danger area. It would be a high danger chance.
Correct.
It
Now,
was the
I will
same.
say this. I'm on Natural Stat Trick because they have like all of the stats. Um, I think one thing that they could add is a website. So you know how like some things like certain sports websites and stuff, when you look at their stats and they have the abbreviations up top, if you hover your cursor over it, it tells you what the abbreviation is in like smaller print.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're a website that has like 40 to 50 5-on-5 stat columns, you should probably incorporate that because there's a whole lot of 4 and 5 letter abbreviations that I have no clue what the fuck they are.
We should email them.
We should. Maybe we can collab with them a little bit. So yeah, 5-on-5. The team just has been lacking on both ends of the ice. We already touched on the team defense, and and again, you only have 42 goals for. Like that's absolutely terrible in terms of 5-on-5 hockey.
Well, I think, in this situation, a lot of the problems that we talked about on the power play are pretty similar problem that they've been having 5-on-5. They're not making
Absolutely,
crisp. They're not making crisp passes.
they're not
There's
establishing offensive zone
Yeah,
time.
they're not establishing the offensive zone. They're not effective at carrying the puck in. Their forecheck has been abysmal, and just like on the power play, they haven't been getting anybody to the front of the net. They've been getting no net front presence.
Correct. And I think one thing that's kind of adding to that, I've noticed that there hasn't been a concentrated effort on forechecking hard. I feel like we're a team that capitalizes well off of the forecheck. Like when you're forcing the other team's D man to make a mistake and cough the puck up, and now you have an offensive scoring chance, you have numbers, you have D men out of position. I feel like that's extremely beneficial, and I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that. When we were playing really good hockey, the year of the bubble, before the bubble and then in the round robin games, we were forechecking teams hard. We were taking the puck from them, making the
I,
smart pass, and then shooting while we still had guys out of position.
yeah, our forechecking was a lot better. And one major thing, our defensemen were a lot more aggressive that year leading into the bubble. You know, we were, I think, the top team, if not a top three team, in points scored by defensemen. I think so far with Yo, we've been seeing our defense getting a little more aggressive, especially in terms of trying to keep the puck in. I've noticed Sanheim has not hesitated to, if he has speed through center ice, carrying the puck in, which you like to see. You want to see more of that from him because it's probably the strongest, ability that he has is his offensive ability as a defenseman. So hopefully with Yo, we'll see more of that. But yeah, not being able to establish an offensive presence, you're just not going to score goals that way. When you're not getting in on the forecheck, when you're not creating turnovers, you're not going to get the possession. If you're not getting the possession, you better have a really high shooting percentage, which we had in like the first 5 games of the year. Our shooting percentage was through the roof. It's
Right, and we
obviously come
talked
back
about
down
it
to
through those
earth.
first five or so games, and we talked about how this team needed to maintain that shoot first mentality, and they did a good job through those first couple of games. And you know, you kind of see the correlation, right? As we got away from our guys shooting, we stopped scoring and we stopped putting the puck in the net, and it's just terrible. And when your power play is as bad as it is, you have to score 5-on-5.
Well, I think that a lot of our shots started coming from the outside. We were still getting a decent amount of shots on net, but they weren't from the same areas.
Right, exactly. But even still, like, even if you're shooting from the outside, like when you get the puck on net, like good things happen. I don't care where you're shooting it from. Like I can't tell you how many goals I've seen in all my life watching hockey where a guy fires it just from the board so to keep it away from the defenseman. The goalie mishandles it. There's a juicy rebound out in front, and there's a crashing winger that buries the puck. Like it happens time and time again every season. Get the puck on net. Good things are going to happen.
Well, I think we'll start getting a little more of that puck luck moving forward because obviously our goals for is below our goals expected. So I think we'll start getting a little more of that puck luck. So if that can start coming along with just a better offensive scheme in general because the 2-1-2 that AV was running was not getting the job done. The other team was able to exit the zone way too easily. So I mean, listen, this is Mike Yo's audition, right? So if the team likes him and they want to play hard for him, potentially to try to get him to keep a job here, we'll see.
Absolutely. I will say this: if they do decide to stick with Mike Yo, I really hope they don't give him another fucking $12 million contract like they did AV and let
No,
that walk out the door.
that won't happen. That just won't happen.
Well, and I mentioned it last pod. We kind of touched on this a little bit. I almost feel like the Flyers are gonna be scared to go for a guy that's gonna warrant that kind of money now because it didn't work and it hasn't worked the last couple of times. Like
I
we've
mean, I
had
guess
some
it's
pretty big name coaches in here over the years, and it almost makes me think that coaching isn't really the problem. You've had guys in here that have had vast success. You've had Alain Vigneault. You've had, um, Scott Stevens. You had fucking Peter Laviolette. Like you've had guys in here that have had success elsewhere, and it just hasn't correlated in Philadelphia.
well, we almost had success with Laviolette. We lost in Game 6 of the Cup. He was out of here 2 years later, nonetheless. But
Right.
I think
Well, and
who
then
they
you fire
hire.
a guy like fucking Craig Berube. Just a few years later is coaching. A St. Louis team that was out of it to a fucking Stanley Cup. Like that's a guy that's a great coach. Guys love playing for him, and you know, I almost feel like the Flyers as an organization have, I don't want to say a disdain, but they have a distaste for like the player motivator guy. Like I feel like, and we're going to talk about Dave Scott here again because I think he's a large part of the issue with the team as well. I think that the Flyers have this disdain from these player motivator coaches because I feel like guys like Dave Scott and these guys that are in charge, they're impressed by to steal a football term, they're impressed by the technical guys, the X's and O's guys. They want a guy that's going to come in and he's going to be a strategist and he's going to draw up all these crazy plays. But in reality, how often do you really get to use a drawn up play in the NHL? Not often. Coming off of a TV timeout, you take a timeout when you have an offensive zone draw in the final minutes of a game. Like you're not running drawn up plays all that often in the NHL. So your X's and O's strategist guy, while they can be successful, like that's not the guy that I want behind the bench. I want a guy behind the bench that's going to motivate these guys that are balls ass fucking tired to go run through a brick wall, put somebody's face into the boards, steal the puck, and score a goal.
Yeah, well, I think their direction in terms of where they're going to go with their head coach is really going to depend on what direction that they're going to try to take the team. Depending on how this year finishes out, whether they end up continuing to play like shit and missing the playoffs badly, or if they just squeak in, it's going to affect, Dave Scott and Chuck Fletcher's direction that they're going to try to take this during the offseason, which will more than likely affect that their coaching hiring.
Absolutely. And I don't want to count Mike Yo out of it. We've seen him win 2 games here in the last couple of days. So we don't know if he's going to be the guy or not. I don't want to sit here and pretend like has no shot at the job. Like, he clearly has a shot at the job. Chuck Fletcher was very complimentative about Yosi here in the press conference when they decided to fire him. My lovely girlfriend just whipped me up a drink and showed me a bag of chips that our dog got into. She tore the whole bag open. So,
oh, nice.
Just to let you know what I'm dealing with while I'm podcasting simultaneously.
I made some nice ribeyes tonight.
Attaboy.
They were so good.
I've taught you well.
Perfectly pink in the middle as well. If you're a freak that likes your steak well done, we don't even want you listening.
So you like pink, so you're a medium guy?
I can do medium rare. Medium rare to medium.
Yeah, so to me, you're a freak.
You like your steak well done?
Absolutely not. I like my shit blue rare.
Elaborate.
Blue rare is like a step above purple on the inside. Like, it's somewhere in between red and purple.
So it's less than medium rare?
It's less than rare.
So it's how can you be less than rare?
You can get less than rare. It's called blue rare.
So you like just the outside of your steak crisped, and that's it.
Yeah, so like you get a cast iron skillet, or you get your grill like super hot, and you sear it like maybe a minute and a half each side, and then let it rest.
I'll have to try that.
Oh,
that's serious. I'll try that,
eating, buddy. Good fucking eating. So I don't have a whole lot more to go here on the Flyers. I will say this: I'm drinking some delicious booze tonight. And if you want to drink some delicious booze,
what are you off tomorrow?
I am off tomorrow. So if you want to drink some delicious booze, just like I am, head on over to Pike's Pub in Southampton, Pennsylvania, right on 2nd Street Pike. Go see our buddy Matt and the wonderful, beautiful, lovely ladies behind the bar. Get yourself a beer, a shot, a beer and a bite, whatever you want. There's sports on the tube. There's lovely ladies behind the bar, and there's delicious food being made up in the kitchen. And while I'm talking about Pike's Pub, we're going to be out there on the 21st this month. The Flyers are taking on the Capitals. We're going to be there drinking ice-cold Labatt Blues, $3 each, and eating delicious, crispy wings, 50 cents a piece all night long. And you can do the same. $3 Labatt Blues, 50 cents wings all night long while the boys from John Street are at the bar. We're going to be there once again. The 21st. It's a Tuesday night. What else do you got to do but come watch hockey with us, drink beers with us? So come on out, Pike's Pub, Southampton, Pennsylvania, 2nd Street Pike. Watch the Flyers take on the Capitals. Watch us take down some beers. And you're going to have the chance to win some awesome prizes. And we're even going to do a Santa Claus costume contest because it is Christmas week after all. So show up in your best Santa Claus costume for a chance to win a sweet prize. We'll see you out there.
Hell yeah. Wait, can I also dress up as Santa? Can I enter the contest?
You can dress up as Santa, but you ain't winning your own giveaway, you fucking clown. Dress up as a clown.
No one will know it's me.
Everybody will know it's you because you're going to be the jerk off on the microphone with me. Everybody's going to know it's you.
Problem like Clark Kent, I can switch outfits. No one would even know. Right before the contest starts.
I don't think they have a phone booth at Pike's.
Right before the contest starts, I got to go to the bathroom. I go out the back door, coming through the front. I'm like, hey, is this the Santa Claus contest? You're like, yeah, this is the Santa Claus contest. You want to join? I'm like, yeah.
Where do you think Clark Kent changes now that there's no phone booths?
That's a really good question.
Like, you can't just dive into your iPhone to change, you know?
Yeah, it's a good
Like, does
question.
he
I
have
don't
to
know.
find like an Old Navy and like go into the dressing room? Like, I don't
Like,
know.
do you think like in the new because they definitely still make new comics, right? So where's he getting changed at? Because there are no phone booths around anymore. I don't know. I haven't been to New York. Maybe there's still
All
some
right.
there.
I don't know. You're the comic guy, so
No.
buy,
I've never read a comic book. I like the
all right.
movies.
Well,
I've never
I
read a
don't do
comic
like
book.
the superhero thing at all. So buy a comic book and report back to us next week.
I watch Marvel, not really that too much DC. So that's totally different.
Will you just buy a fucking comic book and report back?
Where am I gonna buy a comic book from? I don't even know where
I
to buy a
don't
comic
know,
book.
dude. They're Google it. The
Yeah.
people want to know. I want to know. Mostly me. I want to know.
Why? So I can have fucking Superman preach to me about fucking equality instead of just saving people from fucking villains.
Maybe, maybe. All right, guys. With that being said, don't forget to check out all of our awesome other sponsors. The Chamonix Creek Brewing Company, beautiful Croydon, Pennsylvania, right on Ray Avenue, just off of State and Cedar. State and Cedar, not State and Cedar. Wow. God, this whiskey's good. The Chamonix Creek Brewing Company, Croydon, Pennsylvania, home of Ice Cold John, the official beer of John Street. Head on down there to the tap room, get yourself an ice cold beer. Enjoy some of the artwork on the walls. They got vintage arcade games, pool tables, whatever you want. It's there. It's a great atmosphere. Head on down to the tap room, get yourself a beer. Take a couple 6-packs home. And if you're looking to give a great gift, who doesn't love beer? Beer is always a great gift. If you're looking to get me a gift, I will always accept beer as a gift. The Chamonix Creek Brewing Company. Start your Christmas shopping there. Norse Beards, great stocking stuffers if you want to get a head start on your playoff beard. Or if you're like me and you have a playoff beard year round, use Norse Beards. That's Norse, Norse, beards.com. Use the promo code JOHN. Get yourself 10% off your entire order, not just your first order, not just your first item, but the entire order. That's promo code JOHN, JAWN, for 10% off your entire order at Norse Beards. And don't forget, while you're out there doing all your Christmas shopping, working up a hunger that can only be satisfied by a Hubba Hubba Hoagie, stop on down to Hubba Hubba Hoagies, Woodburn Road in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, right around the corner from the Oxford Valley Mall. That's Hubba Hubba Hoagies, the only hoagies that make you say Hubba Hubba. We appreciate the hell out of everybody for checking in today on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We appreciate you guys for rocking with us here tonight. We're out.
Bye, everyone.